Hello, everyone. David Gumper here from the Wave Group. Today, we're going to continue a conversation that Peter McGarry and I had regarding fallen sales or deals fallen through / DFTs, right? The conversation really kind of centered around the value proposition a brokerage can bring in resuscitating those deals and what would that look like if we could. But for today, the conversation, we've actually invited a special guest to speak with us. Mary Smedley from the Inglewood and Boca Grande, Florida offices of Michael Saunders Company will give her experiences of why DFTs are important to her and also to give you some ideas on how she resolves them or what are some of the important elements to look for in preventing DFTs. So with that, listen. Hi, Mary. Thank you very much for coming on the show today. Can't wait to get into this whole topic about DFTs or fallen sales. But before we do, how about giving the audience a little brief background about you?
Hello, everyone. I'm Mary Smedley. My background is I'm a managing broker for the Inglewood and Boca Grande offices. I love management. I've been in over 25 years. My favorite part is coaching my agents to be the best that they can be, to drive them up on levels, and to really work on their why and achieve to be amazing. And I love every bit of that aspect of my job.
Oh, thanks, Mary.
Happy to be with you guys.
Oh, we're so happy to see you too, Mary. It's been a long time since we've had a chance to chat, and this is a great topic to talk about. Peter, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm Peter McGarry. I'm a partner in McGarry Properties, and basically we specialize in real estate, both income properties, but primarily our purpose today is to be talking about best of practice and best practices. Specifically, our topic today is in this rather elusive areas of deals that fall through, or DFTs to sound brilliant. But a DFT is one of these areas where across the industry we see, what do you see, Dave, in terms of percentages of DFTs?
Yeah, across the industry,
wide?
Yeah, between 7% to 14% every month of deals fall through.
And Mary has a great level of expertise in the value of DFTs. And so I thought we just kind of get started with, and by the way, I am not driving. I am stationary in my automobile. That's why my hands are doing this. And so no one's at risk. No one's at risk with me on the road. So, but at any rate, Miss Mary, why don't you take us home about your philosophy of DFTs, and also, as a quick aside, that I've actually heard recruiters and people actually malign the manager's job of field doctoring. And if you don't mind, explain why you think it's important to be involved in those equations.
I would be happy to. So DFTs, fallen angels, these magic unicorns, whatever you want to call them, I think it is an opportunity for agent growth. When they're looking at a deal, looking at trying to get it, because the buyer wants to buy, the seller wants to sell, and then all of a sudden some things happen in between. Figuring out a solution by listening and focusing on keeping those together. In my office, compared to last year, I had a 50% reduction because we focused on what was the trend, and it's different in every office. So the trend on how these, is it repairs, is it appraisals, is it financing, is it proof of funds, but really focusing on listening to the agent and making sure that that agent is setting up for success and coaching them so that they can get better at their trade. That's my favorite part. I never like to lose. Got to put it together, keep it together, and close it.
So how do you go about coaching? Go ahead,
yeah,
Dave, I'm sorry.
No, that was perfect. I was leading down that pathway. Again, how do you go about coaching and using this as your understanding of how deals fallen through? And again, you don't have any statistics or facts. These are all pretty much qualitative. It's based upon your experience of what you've seen over the years, right? So,
Correct.
so what do you do to, what do you do? How do you coach up your agents through this, and how do you get them to understand that, you know, when they see something going wrong with the deal, that they can take certain actions?
Right. Well, the culture of my office is we're very collaborative. Basically, that boils down to how needy I am and how I need to be involved into the process. Just kidding. So what I do is when there is an issue with a sale and the agent feels that they can come to me, they talk to me about it, and we identify what the steps are necessary to take. That is dependent on each manager and each trend. If they're tracking it, I think number one, they need to track what the trends are.
Yep.
In my office, it's always about repairs. Of course, the as is doesn't mean as is, because they give a laundry list of repairs, financing or proof of funds, and appraisal. So what I tell them is, I'm a big one, because my father in the military, about debriefing. Every sale I get with the agent, so it's a constant retention process.
Yeah.
How can we debrief and make this deal better? What are the red lights that come up, red flags that come up during the process? You know, does the buyer see something that they think is already going to be a problem? Let's tackle it now. Let's set the expectations. If you set the expectations and communicate with the other agent, then you can find a solution by listening. And keeping it simple. Most people don't listen. They want to take it into their own hands. Oh, they're not going to do that. Well, let's hear, because sometimes in our minds it might be something major, and it really isn't. It might be, oh, the house is falling down, but guess what? They only want to pay attention to a GFI. Well, we can help you with that. So that's basically, you know, it's just the trends. It's really having that conversation with the agent. You know, my office has grown. When it was a smaller office, I used to look at every single deal that crossed my desk, and I would call the agent, congratulations, this is awesome. Do you feel that there are any things that come to your mind that might be a problem moving forward? It might be dealing with the other agent. It might be that you have a difficult buyer, a difficult seller. What is the hot spots on that? And we talk about it. And they love that coaching, because when they want a solution, well, what would you think we would need to do? So that when the problem happens, they know what to do.
Yeah.
And I'm very proud of them, because our DFTs have declined by 50% from year to date today from last year. And I'm very, very proud of that, because that's been able not only to add that volume to the office, but more importantly, the agent's paychecks. When you talk about loyalty, there is nobody in the business, not too many, that instead of always pushing paperwork, really get in and care about their agents, being proactive, preventative. And you know what? When you keep a deal together and that agent gets the paycheck, guess what? They are so happy. They're my best recruiters for my office, because you know what? They know how to deal. And you know what? The doctor's in. So they're like, hey, and you know what the best part is that they shared that winning formula with everybody else. So we have a lot of angels still to save, and a lot of wings to make sure that they're flying on these deals. But that's like my favorite part, is finding a solution to something. When somebody tells me no, all right, then that is not a real no. Let's figure out how to make this a yes. And it's not our yes, it's for the customers who we transactionally represent.
Exactly. Just to put some context for our listeners, how many agents do you have in your office?
I have 40 agents in my Englewood office and 15 in my Boca Grande office.
Yeah, great. And kind of, why did you start looking at DFTs as being something that was very important to you? I mean, what was the impetus to say, hey, look, there's something going on here. I need to really look at this and do an analysis and figure out what's going on. What got you down the pathway to be cognizant that DFTs are an important part of your business?
You know, we have to, as managers, we have to sign off on cancellations.
Yeah.
And where it took me was, I was noticing that, you know, there are some months where you're behind on your volume. And I see a lot of agents so busy. And in meetings, they would say, I've had this go down. I thought, man, in one meeting, I had like 5 agents. I said, you know what? I need to start looking at this. So 3 years ago, I started really looking at the DFTs. And I noticed that each year it got higher and higher. And I'm like, holy moly, how did I miss this? And what it did was, sometimes it would go up to 10 million a month in failed sales. And you know what? My office generally, in those numbers, that was horrific.
That's a lot. Yeah.
For me. And so I thought, what is the case? Now, granted, they would resell their properties or have the buyer buy another property, but guess what? I went to those agents because I saw who the agents were. I didn't tell everybody, but those that had the failed sales, I'm like, let's talk about this. It's much more difficult to go and have a buyer do a new one or have a new offer or a seller reselling it. It's not that easy just or glib to say, oh, well, we're going to sell it again. Let's focus on what happened during that sale, because you could already move on to the next one in building somebody's business. And at the end of the year, by focusing on that, those agents that were up for awards are those agents that wanted their vision of maybe planning a surprise trip for their loved ones, or going to Disney, or getting a new car, or paying off their mortgage. With those additional units, they were able to achieve their goals. And the best part for me was I got to see them burning that note. I got to see them driving around in their cars, or seeing the pictures of them on a beautiful vacation with their family. Whatever their why is, it made such a difference. And why wouldn't we focus on what we have in hand than to look at another thing? It's like prospecting. You're not going to go out and find new prospects. Why don't you communicate with the ones you know, right? Same thing with failed sales. And what a difference in the detailed work from my agents. They have grown into such good agents that truly know contracts, that truly know how to get a deal together, have it stay together, and more importantly, give that customer the great feeling that when it closes, that they truly work for them without even seeing them sweat. That is a hero. That is an angel. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Peter, you have any questions?
No, I was just sitting here thinking that, one of the coaching things that you do so well, Mary, is by getting to that why of making, a really understanding, so that, you have your heart and soul involved and invested in these people's lives. And as this deal comes together and everybody's sort of, even after it's happened, you look back and you say, whew, that was something else. And then all of a sudden the agent's like, and thank you, Mary. And they really want to have your involvement, and probably the action of you even getting involved heightens that relationship with your agent to the point that it's a massive retention and recruiting benefit.
Right. Absolutely. I want loyalty. I get that from being raised military, but more importantly, I believe confidence can rule the world. And if I can give my agent the confidence that on their own they can save the deal, that's what it's about. It's not easy. It's not easy for me as a manager to say, oh, well, that happens. Let's just, they'll get it. I don't want to hover. I joke because I'm not a helicopter manager or a helicopter parent. But I do like to hover to give my agents the confidence, the ability to doctor that deal to make them even better. And you know what? Confidence, they're not just going to do their 5 million. They're going to go and do 10 million, because you know what? They really believe they can, because I've coached them to have that confidence of success. And guess what? Failure doesn't mean that you're a loser. Failure is our best mentor. Yeah. So when deals fail, we learn from that. And the best part is that my crew is so giving on phone calls that we go over, look what I did on this deal. I missed this. Don't do this. This is what I've learned. And sometimes for me, it's always, I say how I love them and they do a great job. But from their own peers to hear how they did that, That is communication. That is giving them confidence that they feel really good about themselves. I'm afraid they can all teach me. They should be the real ones on this phone call today. They're
Yeah,
the angels.
no, that's right, and that's kind of a very good point to make. It's about people learning from people, right? At the end of
Yeah.
the day, we all learn from each other, and if we keep that kind of mindset, it just makes us all successful and builds confidence as well as you mentioned. Let's talk a little bit about the deals, why the deals fall through. Based on your experience, is the gamut of fallen sales all over the place? Or is it really have you seen anything that you can have you can correlate to why deals are falling through, and which ones happen to be like the most challenging issues of all that you can say? Do you know if there's what is the one kind of fallen deal that you can resurrect and bring back to life and resuscitate, as Peter was saying in our first talk? Can you resuscitate and just, like, get those wings back and flapping and moving?
Right. I think the best thing, and even I learn from trying to, so as is contracts are, I don't like
Yeah.
as is contracts. As is contracts, although it appears to protect certain people, it means I'm going to negotiate the price up front and I want you to do the whole laundry list of repairs. The number one thing is the repairs. And to resuscitate that after trying, and I feel like we're all great negotiators, I'm going to go in and talk to them. And if the expectations haven't been set, there are those that want, I'm going to win with the price, but then I'm going to go ahead later and negotiate all these repairs and get my credit. The one thing that I have found that brings those wings back on that angel is telling the seller here, and this is for seller, you know what, Mr. Seller, Mrs. Seller, I want you to do an inspection ahead of time. It's going to be the best $200 to $300 you're going to spend, because guess what? We're going to know what all the problems are ahead of time. We're going to correct those that need to be and disclose those. But when somebody comes in, we're going to say to those buyers, hey, guess what? We already got the inspection. You wrote an offer. Let me give this to you. And that, I think, brings peace of mind. And if that buyer wants to get it re-inspected, they can do that at a discounted price.
Right.
So number one for me is the repairs. It kind of fluctuates with appraisal. Appraisers now are getting very strict on appraisal values. So we talk to our seller, look, I'm going to set you up for success. We're going to get you the inspection that you pay for. We're going to go ahead and do the appraisal, because I want to be able to I want to be in control, right? I want to know everything that could possibly happen to set you up for success and
Yep.
less risk. Now, there are people, more of them are likely to do the inspections than they are to do the appraisals. But the most important thing, and not a lot of people, they always think it's tangible like appraisal or inspections, is how the other agents interact with other agents. And I think what needs to happen is that they communicate and they listen. If this texting and email, you pick up the darn phone and you speak to someone. And when you do that, you're giving it as, I'm here to listen. So David, if you were this person, I would say, David, you know what? I understand that what do you think we can do with this? Here's what is important to my buyer. What is important to your seller?
Yep.
That's when you find out, get around everybody's ego. Let's get the deal to work, because at the end of the day, I want you to make your money. We can make our money. And more importantly, let's get the seller and buyer to have a great experience. There are a lot of offshoot ones. I think with COVID, and I know that that's anomaly in all this, it's unprecedented, but I feel like because it's a seller's market right now, the market is very strong. We haven't slowed down a bit. I think people are afraid to lose properties. So an offshoot of this is that they're making multiple offers on multiple properties using the as-is contract. So I simply tell my agents to ask, hey, David, is just by any chance, has your buyer made other offers on properties?
Yeah.
And you know what? I'm amazed at how many agents say yes. And I'm like, so tell me what they want. Let's cut to the chase.
Yeah.
But I ask the questions. I want them to answer. Ask questions, listen, and then just keep it simple and communicate. But
Now,
those are the top ones in my book.
so on the home inspection, I know back when, the downturn of the 2008 through 2012 and so forth, where it was a very much buyer's market, those home inspection by the seller was always it added some trust and faith value to the market, so buyers
Right.
would buy. In today's market, where it is such a seller, you see in sellers doing that in order to protect themselves and also to be transparent to the potential buyer.
I do, because that has always been something that I've coached the agents to do. And again, not all of them do that. But you know what I get frustrated with, and I know I can see that my agents get frustrated when every deal you have a problem with inspection. So how do I take that issue and find a solution to it? Because even on a seller's market, you'll get over asking, but then they'll cut you down when they have the inspection. And so I'm like, how do I eliminate that objection in the best possible, most professional, respectful way? And so I tell my sellers, get a home inspection, because if somebody says they're worried about the roof, well, guess what? I got you covered.
Yeah.
Here's what I found out. Here it is. You're welcome to get your own inspection. But if it is a problem, I want to set my seller up for success as well. So if it is a problem and the seller just didn't know, then if we want to limit the pie on whether it's going to be cash or financing is going to require with insurance on a roof, then I'm going to coach my seller by doing this. You're going to save money, because here's what happens with the buyer. There's a roof issue. Okay, it's going to cost $20,000, but I want $50,000 off your price, right? So it's setting up, trying to control it the best way you can. Nothing's perfect, but saying, look, what can I do to overcome an objection that I see over and over and over again? And the expectations that I set, I'm going to tell the buyer, this is not a chance for you to do a laundry list. They're not going to fix a hole in the wall, a little, nail hole in the wall. If it's cosmetic, it's only for major things. So but I'm going to have that expectation
set.
So when it comes time, I'm not going to have a problem. Then the course of not having to extend a deal is paramount, because when you have to extend it, the seller or the buyer at any point can say no. And guess what? Then it's down. It's really important to keep those wings on there in any way you can by setting those expectations. It's hard.
It is. It is very hard. So let's one last thing before we end the conversation. Peter and I, we were talking about, this is a very important part of our brokerage and a part of our business, and the value proposition that managers do bring to agents as far as retention, and it's a recruiting aspect as well, and it actually covers all three pillars of what I consider what a brokerage always has to measure against: retention, recruiting, and production. Correct. So it fulfills that. So Peter and I were talking, and naturally, being the tech geek I am, right? It's how can technology solve this problem? Do you think there's a place where technology can help in this area?
I do. I think technology is key. I think having the information that there are failed sales, because as managers, we're required to do so much. And just trying to find how to get that technology wise, we do have that where I could look up on my Profit Power and look at what my failed sales are. I think technology with statistics, I always tell my agents, the best agents know their numbers. If there was something technology that says, it's kind of like my analytics, right? How much collaborative time that you have, what are you focusing on, how many meetings you are. If an agent could see, out of these sales or these deals that you've written that have gone pending, and given them statistics to look at, so that when I am every quarter working on their business plan, because I don't wait till the end of the year to do that, then I have something to focus with them about. And sometimes when they see it in writing, things that I see. What do you mean my collaborative time on my analytics? I'm the most busy person, but it sets more of reality of what that could be. I always believe technology can change the world. It has, but I think if it's information for a busy agent or a busy manager to have in front of them, then you focus on it, right? Because you have to look at it's not if we have to go find it, it takes longer. If we get it automatically, then it points it to purpose, and then I can focus on it, because I'll go, what do you mean? Oh my God, I got to call that agent. What do you mean it's 50%? I know this agent. So I do think technology would be good. It's actually worthy of a conversation on what would the agents feel would be. And you know what, you've prompted me to maybe ask those questions to my own agents. What does that look like? How can we help?
Well, we kind of actually gone down the rabbit hole of how AI and machine learning technology. In other words, can we have enough data points with accuracy that can tell us and provide events, maybe like a yellow flag that gets risen, or a yellow flag, a caution flag that says during a race, because that's what it is. It's a race during this contract, right? So that caution flag gets waved and said, hey, look, this is kind of on the roadway for a collision or an accident nearby. And here is what it is, and maybe even provide some kind of prescriptive analysis as well too. But that's where Peter and I were kind of going down.
I love that.
Yeah.
Kind of like a pit stop. You get tires.
Change those tires, baby.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. I think it absolutely is. I'm very fascinated with AI and all that. It just needs somebody to kind of, go through that process and find out what's important. I love that, because they're so busy right now. I worry about them just taking that time to kind of balance themselves and kind of reinvigorate themselves, because it's challenging out there right now.
Yeah. And that's a misnomer that the public doesn't really is aware of, right? Is that how busy real estate agents really are. They think selling homes and buying homes is a piece of cake, but we all know inside the industry that it's a lot of work. It's not that easy to be successful. To be successful, anybody can be a real estate agent, not questioning that. As long as you pass your state test and you're working and you can do it part-time, whatever. But if you're making a career out of it, if you're going to be successful and have any type of success, it takes a lot of work. So,
Agreed.
Hey, look, so thank you very much for joining us today. This was an excellent I know this is, isn't it? We like doing this. So maybe maybe we'll think of another topic at some other time. But look, thank you very much for joining us today, both Peter and Mary. And have a great day. All right, guys.
Always a pleasure working with you guys. Have a great day.
Good to see you. Cha, cha, cha.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Cha, cha, cha.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.